At first glance, the Huajiang Canyon Bridge looks almost impossible. Floating 625 meters above the canyon floor in China's Guizhou Province, it sits higher than many of the world's tallest skyscrapers. One glance down is enough to make your stomach drop. But this isn't just a height record. It's the result of decades of bold engineering, relentless problem-solving, and China's determination to tame some of the most unforgiving terrain on Earth. Beauty built on extremes. Guizhou is often described as one of China's most beautiful provinces. Towering karst mountains, deep river gorges, and cloud-wrapped valleys have earned it the nickname, the Switzerland of China. Yet this beauty comes with a cost. Locals have a saying that translates loosely to no 3 feet of level ground, and it is not an exaggeration. More than 90% of the province is covered in mountains and hills, making large-scale transport projects exceptionally difficult. For much of its history, Guizhou was geographically isolated. Reaching the region was hard. Moving within it was even harder. Winding mountain roads turned short distances into multi-hour journeys, slowing economic development and cutting communities off from wider opportunities. This isolation became a strategic concern for Beijing as China's economy expanded and disparities between coastal and inland regions grew more visible. China's Mountain Mission. To address this challenge, the Chinese government launched an aggressive infrastructure campaign focused on its most rugged provinces. Airports, high-speed rail lines, and expressways began cutting through landscapes once thought nearly impassable. In Guizhou alone, more than 32,000 bridges now span valleys, rivers, and gorges, forming a dense network of elevated roadways that bypass the terrain below. This investment is not simply about convenience. It is part of a broader effort to integrate poorer regions into national and global supply chains, reduce poverty, and unlock tourism potential. The Huajiang Canyon Bridge stands as the most dramatic symbol of this mission, pushing bridge engineering to new limits while serving a practical purpose within the region's transport system. A canyon that demanded the impossible? The Huajiang Canyon itself is immense. Carved by the Beipan River, its steep walls plunge hundreds of meters to the valley floor. Before the bridge existed, crossing from one side to the other meant navigating narrow mountain roads that snaked around the canyon for up to 2 hours. Today, the same journey takes roughly 2 minutes. The bridge forms a critical section of the Guizhou S57 Expressway, a 150-kilometer highway that slices directly through the heart of the mountains. In one particularly striking example of China's infrastructure philosophy, engineers literally split a mountain in half using explosives and heavy drilling equipment to create a passage for the road. The Huajiang Canyon Bridge then completes the route by leaping across the canyon at a height that rewrites engineering records. Choosing a record-breaking design. When planners evaluated how best to cross the canyon, they faced a series of complex decisions: soil stability, wind conditions, seismic risk, and the sheer width and depth of the gap all had to be considered. After studying locations several kilometers upstream and downstream, engineers identified a site that could support massive anchorages and solid rock. 2 main design options were considered: a cable-stayed bridge or a suspension bridge. While cable-stayed designs are visually striking and effective for many long spans, the extreme height and rocky terrain made a steel truss suspension bridge the more practical solution. Suspension bridges excel in situations where cables can be firmly anchored into hard rock, providing exceptional stability over vast distances. The final design stretches 2,890 meters in total length, with a main span of 1,420 meters. These dimensions alone place it among the world's most ambitious bridge projects, but its vertical clearance is what truly sets it apart. Building in thin air. Constructing a bridge at this height introduces challenges that go far beyond conventional engineering. A single mistake could send thousands of tons of steel tumbling hundreds of meters onto solid rock below. Precision was not optional, it was essential. Before construction began, engineers used virtual pre-assembly techniques to simulate how the bridge would come together. This digital rehearsal allowed teams to identify potential issues long before any steel was lifted into place. The bridge's steel structure consists of 93 truss sections, incorporating cords and deck panels, with a combined weight of around 22,000 tons. For comparison, that is roughly 3 times the weight of the steel used in the Eiffel Tower. Moving and positioning this material required a carefully planned construction strategy. Instead of relying on massive ground-based cranes, which would be impractical at this scale, engineers employed a cable crane system. This overhead network functioned like a suspended monorail, transporting steel sections across the canyon and lowering them into position with remarkable accuracy. Asymmetry by necessity? One of the less obvious challenges of the Huajiang Canyon Bridge lies in the uneven terrain on either side of the canyon. Unlike bridges built on flat plains, the foundations here had to be adapted to sloping mountainsides with varying geological conditions. As a result, the bridge's towers are different heights. The North Tower rises approximately 262 meters, while the South Tower stands at around 205 meters. The anchorage system is also asymmetrical, with cables embedded at different depths and angles, depending on local rock conditions. This uneven design is not a flaw. It is a direct response to the realities of the landscape, ensuring balanced load distribution and long-term stability, designing for earthquakes and wind. Although Guizhou is not China's most seismically active region, earthquakes are still a factor that cannot be ignored. Long-span suspension bridges behave like enormous pendulums, and seismic movement can cause significant oscillations. To counter this, engineers incorporated energy-absorbing devices, essentially large shock absorbers, at key points in the structure. These systems allow the bridge to move safely during earthquakes while still accommodating everyday thermal expansion and contraction. Wind posed an even greater challenge. The canyon's shape amplifies wind speeds through the Venturi effect, where air accelerates as it passes through narrow spaces. Gusts in the Huajiang Canyon can reach extraordinary speeds, placing immense stress on the bridge deck and cables. To address this, engineers combined computer simulations with physical wind tunnel testing, using scaled models of the bridge and surrounding terrain. They also deployed advanced Doppler LiDAR systems to create three-dimensional maps of wind behavior in real time. By analyzing how moisture particles moved through the air, engineers gained a detailed understanding of wind patterns that informed the bridge's final design. Monitoring a living structure. Opening the bridge to traffic did not mark the end of engineering oversight. Suspension bridges are dynamic structures, constantly responding to traffic loads, temperature changes, and environmental forces. The Huajiang Canyon Bridge is equipped with fiber optic monitoring systems embedded directly into its cables. As the steel cables stretch under load, the fiber optic strands stretch with them. By sending light through these fibers and measuring changes in reflection, engineers can monitor strain levels with extraordinary precision. This continuous data stream allows maintenance teams to detect potential issues early, ensuring the bridge remains safe throughout its lifespan, more than a transport link. While the Huajiang Canyon Bridge is a vital piece of infrastructure, it was never intended to serve only vehicles. From the outset, planners envisioned it as a destination in its own right. Visitors can ride an 800-meter glass elevator up one of the bridge's towers to a 2-story cafe suspended high above the canyon. A glass walkway beneath the roadway offers a stomach-churning view straight down to the river below, while an artificial waterfall cascades dramatically across part of the structure. The bridge is also being positioned as a hub for extreme sports. Bungee jumping platforms allow thrill seekers to leap from the highest bridge in the world, and proposals for professional base jumping events and canyon-based adventure centers are already in development. In this way, the bridge becomes both an economic engine and a global spectacle. Infrastructure as strategy. Projects like the Huajiang Canyon Bridge reveal how infrastructure functions as a strategic tool in modern China. Since 2012, hundreds of billions of dollars have been invested in developing poorer inland regions, forming part of the country's broader poverty alleviation efforts. Guizhou also plays a role in China's Belt and Road Initiative, which seeks to create economic corridors linking Asia with Europe and beyond. By showcasing advanced engineering in some of its most challenging environments, China sends a message to both domestic and international audiences. It has the technical capability, financial resources, and political will to reshape landscapes at a continental scale. The Huajiang Canyon Bridge is not just a road crossing, it is a statement of intent, a bridge that redefines what's possible. Standing high above the Huajiang Canyon, this bridge represents the outer edge of what modern engineering can achieve. It demonstrates how digital modeling, advanced materials, and precise construction techniques can overcome obstacles once considered insurmountable. More importantly, it shows how infrastructure can transform lives by turning isolation into connection. For drivers, the bridge is a 2-minute shortcut. For engineers, it is a masterclass in problem-solving under extreme conditions. And for China, it is another step in a long-term strategy to bind its vast and varied landscape into a single, interconnected whole. The Huajiang Canyon Bridge does not merely cross a canyon, it bridges the gap between ambition and reality. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most extreme engineering projects on Earth, make sure you like and subscribe.